Hello, my name is Adam Hoffman, and we're going to talk about tort liability today. First off, we'll define tort as a civil wrong which a remedy may be obtained, usually in the form of damages. So if you remember the McDonald's case where the woman was burned by the hot coffee, that's kind of the types of cases that you'll see in tort liability. We're going to talk about 5 different case studies today. You can see the 5 listed here. We're going to talk about the reactive measures, the proactive measures we could take to potentially never have to deal with this type of case again, and how this affects our code of ethics. So first we're going to start with the Fallon versus Indian Trail School. The Fallon is a student, and he's suing for damages by sustaining a neck injury from a front drop on the school's trampoline. So here they are in the school PE class, they're jumping on the trampolines. There you have the PE instructor and a class full of students. Well, the parents thought that the PE instructor was liable for the damage that the student received to his neck, but the courts decided that the trampoline was not an abnormally dangerous instrument, and the PE teacher was not at fault or liable for the decisions the student has made while jumping on the trampoline at school. So reviewing and evaluating this situation, reactive measures, you kind of really need to assess if this happened to you, right after, the student was injured. Do we have signs up that prohibit flips on trampolines, such as the swimming pool would have signs up that prohibit diving in shallow ends? And also educating the teachers and the children on the safety of the trampoline, and making sure that we have a correct number of teacher-to-student ratio. So proactively, I would continue those measures, and I would also add in a waiver. I know waivers don't always hold up in court, but this allows the student and parents to be aware that we are using trampoline in PE courses, and to sign off for their students to be allowed on this type of equipment. Code of ethics, our principle 1, standard 4 is really just promoting a safe learning environment and health environment to our students. Parents entrust us with our students for 8 hours a day, and we cannot prevent every risk. It is not humanly possible, but we really need to make all parties aware of what resources the school is using and some of the risk involved with those, and really assess, do we need to even allow this into our school, or what is deemed a dangerous piece of equipment. So the next one is Hutchinson versus Toes. Hutchinson is a student, Toes is a chemistry professor. So basically Hutchinson, the student, is making pipe bombs, pipe cannons. It exploded in his face because he used chemicals that was stolen from the chemistry lab. So his parents are deciding that it's the chemistry professor's fault because of not adequately maintaining chemicals in the lab. The courts decided that the chemicals were maintained, legally and ethically, that it was the students' neglect because they were aware of all the immediate risk. So it was the negligent part of the student, and Toes was not liable for that situation. So when we evaluate Hutchinson's, you'll see, you really do need to take an effect of how the chemicals are being stored and how they were stolen. Proactively, if this were to happen with me, I'd really want to assess that and be like, okay, we need to have a better locking system for our chemicals, possibly cameras, because we really want to have that safety for our students. Sometimes they don't always make the correct decision. They're still in their developing years. So you want to really try to be proactive in their safety and educating them. So in our principle here, in our ethics, is a professional educator complies with written local school policies and laws and regulations. So we really need to make sure that, number one, we're at least up to the minimal code of the regulations and laws in regards to chemical storage. And we also need to take it above and beyond of the regulations in order to prevent other situations like this from occurring. Next is the Richardson. Richardson is the parent that slipped on a snowpack surface leaving the school building. So she's decided that the school is responsible for her injuries because the snow was there causing her to slip. Now, after several different arguments came up, the courts decided that the school took appropriate care and the grounds were reasonably safe. Weather is unpredictable. You can't always foresee what dangers can occur and keep up with the weather. So in this case, I do believe the court has made a correct decision. When we evaluate this case, you do need to take into consideration the snow removal policy and procedure. Do we wait till there's an inch of snow on the ground, or are we removing high traffic areas first? So you kind of need to assess those situations. And proactively, you really kind of add in that communication factor that, hey, you send out a quick email, text message to your parents, they're picking up their students. It's been snowing, we're working on snow removal. Sometimes it blows over behind us, so please be careful when you're picking up your child on campus. Our principle here is the communication factor, also along with the safety factor. As you could read there, it's our ethical responsibility to have that open communication between our students, parents, community, and to provide that safe environment for them. Next, we have Broadcheck versus Millard School District. As a parent is pursuing a wrongful death claim. Her son participated in the golf course that is required in their school. So her son was struck by a golf club in the head in gym class, becoming unconscious and dying 2 days later. So in the full perspective of this case, the student missed the first day of class, which went over the safety measures of using the golf club in the gym, and the first, the how-to lessons of how to swing a golf club. So the second day the student came in, was unaware of the safety regulations. The student was teaching him how to swing, and that's when the student was demonstrating. Broadcheck walked up behind him and then was swung and hit in the head. So in this case, the student was liable because the student was not guilty of contributory negligence because he had missed the first lesson. So the school needed to be aware of the safety concerns and that he was not there and really provide a private lesson for him. So at this point in time, the school was at fault. So when you evaluate this, you really have to start an immediate investigation, before there's ever a lawsuit. There was a death involved, but proactively, to prevent this from happening again, because you never want to see that occur again in any situation. So you need to consider your smaller teacher-to-student ratio, make sure everyone has been into the safety section of the class. If someone missed a day, then really you need to pull in another instructor that is knowledgeable in golf skills and provide that safety, or even review the safety on the second lesson. So our code of ethics is again the safety concerns in providing a healthy learning environment. So again, addressing the number of student-teacher ratio, bringing in personnel from outside the community that is very knowledgeable in golf and assisting in this lesson in the PE course should be highly beneficial in this case. Our last case is a Ross versus Creighton University. So Ross is a student and he's seeking damages due to educational malpractice. So Ross is stating that Creighton University failed to provide him with a meaningful education and prepare him for employment, caused emotional distress because they put him in a very stressful environment, and to encourage the courts to adapt the negligent admissions case. because according to him, the university stated that they will provide him with a good education and he will be prepared and be able to have employment upon graduation. Well, in determining the background of the student, they decided that the court recognized the contractual relationship between the student and the school, but his background information, he was not using his resources correctly, not attending classes or student support services to help him succeed. In those regards, in his instances and his actions, the court decided to dismiss the case. So when you evaluate Ross, you really need to assess the student's background, not in a discriminatory way, but see, did he take proactiveness in regards to taking ownership of his education? Was he on top of things, or was he relying on the school to do it all for him? Proactively, we may need to restructure the advisement process and keeping track of student progress and academic needs. We need to see where they're at, what level, and we need to set them up for success in providing them resources that will help them there. But it is also their choice to use those resources, and that is something that we cannot fix ourselves. It is up to the student at that point in time. So ethically, as standard 5 is the professional educator endeavors to prevent facts without distortion, bias, or personal prejudice. So again, when we assess that student's background knowledge, we need to do it on a term that is for their benefit, not to judge them or have a bias because of their background educational knowledge. We need to have an adequate resource and collection of their information to help them succeed, not to bring them down. So these are the references that I've taken these 5 tort cases. Hopefully you have used this to help you understand what tort liability is and situations that you can come across in education. But I thank you and appreciate you watching.